Exciting announcement today from Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry. It could have you grabbing your swimsuit. Today, the city revealed its plan to reopen Jacksonville public pools. Our Liza Powell is on your side tonight explaining what this plan looks like. The details, pretty important.
This empty pool will soon be filled with swimmers trying to beat that Florida heat. Today, Mayor Lenny Curry announced the plans for the phased reopening of Jacksonville's public pools. On June 8th, the city of Jacksonville will begin opening just 5 of its numerous public pools.
It's based on staffing availability.
Lifeguard training had previously been put on hold in some parts of the First Coast because of COVID-19. Additional pools will be open as more trained and certified lifeguards become available.
My expectation, and my team knows this, is to open as many pools as possible. People need an outlet.
The first 5 pools to open include Julia's Ginyard, Ocean Way, Woodland Acres, Charles Clark, and the Cecil Aquatic Center. The reopening will happen in 4 phases. Mayor Curry is still encouraging people to wear masks and social distance while at the pool. Though the mayor's announcement is a step, it's a small and early one. When I asked how lifeguards would manage dealing with normal pool safety and COVID safety, how many lifeguards are currently on staff and how many are still needed, and where people can sign up to be trained and actually lifeguard, he didn't have that information readily available. As soon as we do find that out, we will keep you updated. In Jacksonville, Liza Powell, First Coast News on your side.